Welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. If you found your way to this space, I want you to know that from the start, this isn't about hype. It's not about celebrity. It's not about perfect productions. This is a place for reflection, for clarity, and for a conversation that takes faith seriously without needing to perform it. I created this Substack as a space to slow things down a bit, to think out loud about faith, leadership, culture, and our inner life, to tell the truth as I see it, even when that truth is still forming, and to invite you into that process with me. Some weeks this will sound like teaching. Some weeks it's going to sound like prayer. And some weeks it may sound a little like wrestling. You'll feel the wrestle, you'll feel the tension and the struggle that I'm going through, that we're going through. And all of this is welcome here. I don't come to this space pretending to have everything figured out. I'm an authority in some things, but I'm a teacher. I'm a student in life in general. But I do come as someone paying attention, doing my best to pay attention to God, to the times in which we're living, to what's happening within us, our inner life, our inner being, even as all of us, each of us, strive to live faithfully in spirit and in truth within this very complex world. And I guess this brings me to this moment. This moment as we celebrate this week of Christmas. For me, this Christmas, it feels different. It's hitting different for me. But I don't think that's a problem. It's not an empty Christmas or a hopeless Christmas. It's just a different Christmas. And I've been sitting with this feeling and sitting with it and resisting the urge to explain it away or to rush past it. Instead, I'm allowing myself and allowing the questions within me to bubble, to surface, to come to the surface. And as I try to figure out or try to understand what feels both personal and shared. And the question that I think about in this is, can a season like this still be holy when it does not feel as festive as it once did? Can a celebration still be faithful when it's on the sober side of things? And I ask these questions because we live in a culture that promises at this time enchantment. This Christmas season in the States and much of the Western world is marketed as a guaranteed emotional experience. It's a place where joy is on demand, and wonder is wrapped up in all of the lights and the songs and the hustle and the bustle. But when that feeling does not arrive, some of us are quick to assume that something is wrong with us and something is wrong in us. But I raise this question: what if Christmas is not meant, the real meaning of Christmas is not meant to enchant us? What if Christmas is really a time of year for us to be stabilized and to be steadied? That what if the joy has not disappeared, but what if our joy has really matured? And I ask that because I believe that this Christmas is reminding us that this is not a season of enchantment, but one of promise and presence. Enchantment depends on circumstances. Promise depends on God. Enchantment will fade when the world feels heavy, but promise holds on and holds us up when the world feels uncertain. And the story of the story of the children of Israel in the wilderness helps me make sense of all of this. You see, they were delivered from Egypt. Yet once free, they found themselves longing for what was familiar. They didn't miss their slavery, but what they might have missed was the predictability of it. They missed knowing what tomorrow would look like. They missed the routines that required very little faith. The wilderness, which is basically the way to the promise, the way to God's promise for them, the wilderness gave them freedom, but it also gave them a freedom that demanded trust. They had to trust God every day. See, their provisions came daily, but it didn't last long. It didn't last to the next day. They had to believe that God was going to provide for them the next day as they provided that for them on that day. Their direction from God, it unfolded slowly, not all at once. You see, God refused to let yesterday's systems carry them into tomorrow's promise. And in the promise, Israel had to confront not only their external bondage and their external slavery, their external struggles, but they had to deal with the interior habits, the inner habits of slavery that lingered long after their physical chains were gone. And this is where many of us find ourselves this Christmas. We might be free, but we're feeling unsettled. We're grateful, but we're in a place of quietness, of reserve, right? We're held, but we're not all up in the hype of the season. And if we're not careful, we can be tempted to interpret this quiet as absence, as loss, as some sort of sickness or illness. But what if it's not absence, this quiet? What if this quiet that we're feeling is really the nearness that we need? What if God is not withholding joy or even tampering down the joy? What if he's not withholding joy but stripping us of the illusion of joy? What if our souls are feeling somber because God is doing an inner work that does not really lend itself to celebration right now? Because there is a kind of sentiment that performs, that plays the role. But then there's a real joy that endures. And this Christmas may not feel festive, but it might be a time for us to be honest, and for us to sit in that honesty, to stew in that honesty, to worship in that honesty, and understand that honesty is the holy ground that we need to come to. And understand that this is a time not of enchantment, but this is a time, of course, incarnation. For the Word has become flesh, and it dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory as the glory of the Father, the only begotten of the Father. We beheld that glory as the only begotten of the Father. And he, Jesus, was full of grace and truth. This incarnation, this Word arrived without great spectacle. A child, not steeped in the pomp and circumstance of royalty and nobility. No, a child in a manger. Not in a free world, but a world that was still under occupation. There was no announcement that peace had arrived everywhere. But there was that only quiet truth that there was peace that had entered somewhere low, somewhere obscure. And sometimes the lowly, obscure places are enough. And maybe that's you. You're feeling low and obscure this season, but that's where peace will show up, just where you are. And understand, this is not a season of enchantment as much as it is a season of promise and presence. And the promise that he brings does not erase the darkness, but it does interrupt it. The presence that he is does not fix everything at once, but his presence does sustain us while he is at work. So if this Christmas feels different, if the songs do not lift the way they once did, if the joy feels a little muted and restrained, don't rush to manufacture what God is not demanding of you. You're not failing in this season. The season may be inviting you into a maturity. It's pulling away the illusions and the surface, superficial sentiment. This Christmas is not asking you and asking us to feel more. It's inviting us to trust the promise and to rest in his presence, because God is with us still. Be encouraged, my friend, and Merry Christmas to you and yours.